In this lesson, you're going to learn about Nearpod. So to get started, you will need to create an account. You can simply click Sign In and then Sign Up. Fill out the information, or you can connect it to your Google or your Microsoft Office 365 account if you would prefer. Once you create your account and log in, this will be your home page. As you can see, you have several choices. From here, you can go to My Library. My Library is where you're going to find any resources that you have created or found online and saved to your account. Once in My Library, I have a couple of options. One is to create a completely new presentation. Another is, if I have lessons in here, I can go ahead and edit my lesson, or I can publish it. You will need to publish it so that students can access your activity. Going back to my home button on the top left corner, I'm going to continue showing your options. Explore is where you're going to go and find lessons. Some of these are free resources, some of these are paid. So once you click on Explore, there's a couple of ways you can search. One is to have that search choice right in the center of your screen, and then another is to have it on the right-hand side, and I will show you what that looks like as well. So when you do a search for a lesson, you might want to start with filters. When you click on filters, you can select by free or paid. If you don't care, then go ahead and just leave that open, and then you can search by subject area and search all lessons. As I look through here, I can see the lessons. If I find a lesson I want to take a look at, I simply click on it, and then I can look through that lesson or preview it. They also give me options on the right-hand side for related content. If this is an activity that I like or I want to download, then I can do that by adding it to cart. Before I do that, though, I want to point out to you there is a share option and a wish list option. So I'm going to add to my cart, check out, and then check out again. Because it's a free app or a free lesson, I don't have to put any information in for a credit card. So then it will automatically open up My Library, and you will see the lesson in there and ready for you to either go to a live session or edit. Another way to search are the tags on the right. If I click on the tag on the top right corner, I can then go ahead and sort by subject. If you want to go specific by either free or by math, you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and select free. And then from there, I can select a specific subject. I'm going to select math. So it shows up here the categories I'm sorting by, and it automatically on the left-hand side will begin sorting. So once I'm done sorting through my lessons and I'm ready to view, I can do that. To help this sidebar go away, you can simply just click on the page to the left of it, and then you can browse through. You'll note that these all are free activities, and it also shows how many times something has been viewed or downloaded. I want to point out to you this bundle means that you're getting several lessons all in one. So if I were to click on this bundle, it would then give me a preview of the bundle. This is the free 8th grade starter kit, and when I go through, I'm previewing that portion of the bundle. Once I'm done viewing, I can then download the activity that I want. The join button means if you want to join an activity. So if someone created an activity for you to join, then you would click on join and you would put in the PIN number that they give you. Create means that you're going to create your own, and then reports are once you've completed an activity with your students, you can go into reports and you have some different options. Reports allow you to see activity that you have within your own lessons. So I can go ahead and select an activity, and when I do, I can see the results of each time that I gave that activity to a class. I'm going to show you how Create works. So I'm going to click on Create, and from there I'm going to see a new activity. I can add a slide by clicking on the Add Slide option. It gives me some options. I can add content, add a website, or add an activity. I'm simply going to add a content, and from there I can select slide, video, slideshow, field trip, or audio. I also have a couple of options here as well because I have the paid version of Nearpod, and so I might have a few more options than what you might have with your free version. When you sign up, you get the full version, but then after 30 days, you will have some limitations with the free version. So I just want to let you know that up front. So from there, I can add a slide. I find it kind of cumbersome to work around in Nearpod and creating a presentation. So generally, I'd like to take my PowerPoints and upload them and use them in Nearpod versus making one from scratch. But you can make it from scratch if you'd like. So I simply click to add a title, and then I can add in my information here. If I want, I can add an image. I have an option to drag them from different cloud space options as well as Google Images if I choose, or Browse My Files, which means I can pull that from my own computer. So when I click on Browse My Files, I can go in and find photos that I might have related to what I'm doing here. If I choose to use Google Images, I can click on Image and I can search for a specific topic. So I'm going to search for tundra, and then I'm going to select a picture that best represents what I'm trying to learn or what I'm trying to share. Once I add that in, I can also add in audio if I so choose. When I'm all done with my slide, I click Save. I'm also going to go ahead and add in another slide so I can show you the other options that we have. If there's a specific website that I want my students to go to, I can add in a web content. But before that, I want to copy where I'm getting that from. So I'm going to use Discovery Education. Students can then just simply log in here. So I'm going to copy this website by right-click, copy, once it's highlighted in blue. And then I'm going to go to Add Slide, Add Web Content, and I'm going to paste this website right in there and save it. Next, I'm going to show you how to add in some other options under Add Activity. So from Add Activity, you can see I have open-ended, poll, quiz, draw it, fill in the blanks, and memory test. Not all of these are available to you on the free version. If you want to use an open-ended question, that's where you ask a question and they can type back a few sentences to you. A poll is just taking a poll. If you want to ask, true, false, what's your favorite, that kind of thing. Next is quiz. Quiz is if you want to ask multiple questions and you want to just get some feedback from them, making sure they understand it. So you might have 3 or 4 questions on there asking for their feedback. Draw it allows them to draw out a picture. You can even add an image to it. So maybe you want to have a picture of something, what comes to mind is a flower, and you want them to label. They can do that. So you could upload an image to draw it of a flower, and then the students can go in there and add text or write it in. So these are the ones I'm going to focus on since these are part of the free version. So to get started, I'm going to do an open-ended question. When I create this question, as you can see on the right-hand side, I could add an image if I so choose to do, or if it's needed for the question, but I don't have to. Next, I can simply just click Save, and that's it. I'm now going to add in an activity, and I'm going to show you what a poll looks like. Oops, I made a mistake there. Let me go back into that one. I forgot to show you can add an answer, so if there was a right or wrong way to that question, you could add that in. I'm going to leave that out for now. Quiz. Here to save on time, I'm just going to do the title of quiz. And then I'm just going to do question 1, question 2. So here's question 1, A, B, or C. Over on the right-hand side, I can add an image for that question, and I can make a selection of what the right answer is. If there's more than one question, I can add a question and keep going. Make my selections, and then I'm going to select Save. Scroll down, Save. So now my quiz is done for that particular activity. And the last one is to draw. And so I can have them draw a picture related to that. Of course, this is kind of difficult because we don't always have students that can draw, so maybe that's not the best question, but you get the idea. I'm going to save, and that's it. Now, all I've done is created the activity. Once you're done with your project, you can select Preview if you'd like to preview your project. I also want to show you a couple of other options that you have here. You may have some of these options. With the paid program, you can select homework. This means that instead of self-pacing in class, you could give it as a homework assignment, give the students the ID that is given to you to share, and then they can access that at home. You can also go to share if you want to share it out in Edmodo, or if you're sharing it in another way, it'll give you a link. If this is a project you want to use but you want to make a couple of changes, you can duplicate it and then you can make those changes. Once the project is completed, you'll go ahead and click Publish on the bottom right corner. Next, you can go ahead and give it a name if you haven't done so already. You can give a description, but that is not required. Select the grades, and then you can select the subject area. Once done, click Publish. This does not publish your project in the way that students can now access it. All I did was set it up in your library so that it's ready for you to share. So now that you've published it, you want to be able to share it, you're going to click Live Session. When you select Live Session, it will give you a code. This code is always on the top left corner. So usually I leave this up for the students. Once the students are done, I click Close. But I also like that it leaves the code up here, like I said, in the top left corner, because then if I have a student coming in late, or I have a student that needs to take it the next day or view it the next day, I can just give them that code and it's ready to go. You'll notice right here with the little people and the 0, that means that nobody is in your presentation. Once your students join, then you will see that number change. Once you share the activity with your students, you'll now see a number change. I have 3 students in this particular Nearpod presentation, and so that shows that up here, and it also will show as green. If I have any students that exit it without me being aware, or at some point it will turn red. I can also click on here and see who has joined the class. If a student joins with an inappropriate name or without their real name, you can simply click remove and have them rejoin. I'm now going to have a student go to a different website, and so that you can see how that looks when they leave my presentation. You'll notice now that it shows in red, and when I click on the 3, I know that Sue has left the presentation. When she goes back to the presentation, it will turn green again, and then I'll know Sue is back on track. So now you can see it's green. For this portion of the training, I want to show you what it looks like from a student view while the teacher is controlling it. So on the left-hand side, you can see this is the teacher view. You see my face, you see the pin number, how many students I have. This is on the right, what it's going to look like as a student. So as a teacher, I go ahead and share the information I want to share, talk about it, and then you see the little arrows. This allows me to go backwards or forward a screen. So I'm going to go select that arrow, and it automatically clicks to the next screen. This on the left is the Discover Education page that I inserted. So as a student, I could go ahead and I could click on that to open it up and go to another screen. It automatically opens up another web browser, so I don't lose my Nearpod in the background, but instead I have another one opening up. And so I could log in and do whatever activity that my teacher wanted me to do. I'm going to close this out because I'm done with that page. I'm going to move on to the next page. And this here is a question for me to give feedback as a student. So it says how many biomes are there? And I forgot to double check. I think it's 5, but if I'm wrong, forgive me. And then I'm going to list the ones that I have at the top of my head. To save time, I'm not going to finish that and go to send. And on the left-hand side, you'll see that change happen over here as a teacher. And it tells the student, thank you for participating. If I wanted to, if I have a student that gives feedback that I want to share with all the students, I simply select the share button and it will share what that student gave. But you'll notice there's no name on there. So as long as my student does not type their name on the page, then you will not see that when you share out. So you wouldn't have to say specifically this was Bill and what he said if you want to keep it anonymous. To on share, I simply select on share and I move on. This is the short answer question. So I'm going to, on the right hand side as a student, go ahead and answer. So I select grassland and I click send. It tells me thank you. On the teacher side, I will get a graph that shows me feedback. It also gives me a number option here. And I also like the color code that it gives. It'll give different colors so you can quickly just assess, are my students getting it or are they not? And then if I were to share this out to my students, they would not only see the entire class and what they had to say, but they're also at the bottom reminded of what their answer choice was. So they will know whether they got it right or wrong, because sometimes they might forget, what did I answer there? So they got that quick feedback. This is what the quiz looks like. So as a student, I'm going to go ahead and take that quiz. I think it was 3 questions. So I'm going to click go. And then I would read the question. It could have an image if we wanted as a teacher, and I'm going to make my selections, and I don't remember my answer choices, so I'm just guessing at this point. And I have not submitted my test as a student. So if I'm like, oh, wait a minute, number 1 was B, not A, as long as I don't submit it, I can go back and make those changes as a student. As a teacher, I'm getting feedback on the left-hand side. Once I submit, my grades are turned in, and it lets my teacher know how I did. And I actually got 3 out of 3 right, so I did some good guessing here. Yeah, again, if I as a teacher, I can select share. It will share out that information to students. The students will have their answer at the bottom, if they have them right or wrong, depending on green or red. Go to the next page. This is where the students can draw. And so they have some options on the bottom of the screen. If you want the pen, they can have a pen here. If I want to erase, oops, let me go in order. Here's the paint. So that's what that looks like. Text. And there's some adjusting you can do on the text. You can adjust the text box, and then you can move it around if you need it to. You can add in an image if you want, and you can also erase if you want to as well. So notice it's very thin. If I want to make my eraser very thick, I could do that as well. Once the student is done, they can click Send. I will then, as a teacher, see all of my drawings. Only one has been turned in. Bill turned his in, so I can view it. So it's a very quick view of all the students. If I wanted to get a larger view, I simply select it, and I can also share this out with students if I wanted to as well. This particular screen, I have to make it a little larger so I can share, and then all the students would see Bill's picture on their screen. Select on share, it goes away. I select close, and then that closes that out. When I'm done with this presentation, as you can see, I don't have any more arrows to go to the right. When I'm done with this presentation, I can end this presentation by clicking the arrow. When I select the arrow, I'm going to end the presentation. That's going to have my students no longer have access to it. They can select exit to exit out of the presentation, and then that's it. Now it's your turn to give Nearpod a try.